Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we're making this so fabulous heart bunting or garland. It's basically a decoration that you can hang up in a nursery or for Valentine's Day or anywhere that you want just to look a little bit special. It'd be great in like a little girl's bedroom or a boy's bedroom in different colors. It would be awesome in like turquoise and green. You don't have to feel the traditional hearts have to be red or pink like these ones, but this is kind of just more seasonal for Valentine's Day. But it'd be great on a fireplace, nursery, around a crib. It's just like such an easy, quick, and charming decoration. To make the super sweet heart bunting, you will need your yarn. I'm using this natural cotton by Ice Yarns. It is 100 grams, 180 meters, and it's a 3-weight, 100% cotton. You can use acrylic, whatever yarn you would like to use. This calls for a size 4 knitting needle. I am using a size 5mm hook, and if you are using a worsted weight or an acrylic, you can just use the hook that goes along with whatever is recommended on your yarn label. So I'm using my 5mm hook. You'll need a pair of scissors and also a darning needle for later on. And also you will need another color. I'm just going to use this white, same thing, natural cotton from Ice Yarns. There is a link in the description box below, so if you're doing any shopping at Ice Yarn or Amazon, don't forget to click the link down below before you check out. That would help out the yarnery a lot. And this one we're just doing for the outer edge. You can also just use any other colors you have of scraps laying around or different colors. They don't even have to be the pinks and reds. So to get started, we're going to be making our granny square, same as we always do. So get your yarn ready. So we're going to start by making a slip knot. So I just put the tail over my non-dominant hand, wrap it around 2 fingers, and poke it through and pull it up to make a slip knot. Shrink that down and put it on my hook. Chain 3. So just grab your yarn, turn your hook, and bring it through. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to be working in to the very first V we made, our first stitch. So to count your stitches, you do not count what is on your hook, and you don't count this little knot. You count the V's in between. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Or you can count the sides. There's 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to go into the first chain stitch that we made, just right on top of that knot. We're just going to push our hook straight in. Push your hook in. And now take a minute and get yourself situated. So we have all this on our hook. I want to lay my tail down along my work. And I want to be able to poke my finger right underneath my hook so I can hold open that center, like the center of the U shape, with my finger and my thumb just to hold it open. And I also have my tail right along my work so I can work over that as I go. So now grab your yarn, turn your hook so it's facing down, and drag it through both of those loops to form a ring. I'm still holding it open in the center. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Wrap your yarn and go right into where your finger is, so you're right where you're holding your ring open. Grab your yarn and bring it back. Wrap your yarn and take off 2. Wrap your yarn and take off 2. So your chain counts as a double crochet in this pattern. So there's 1 and 2 double crochets. Really, one's a chain, but we're counting it. So we need to do 1 more double crochet. So wrap your yarn, go into the ring, grab your yarn and bring it back. Wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So there's our first set of 3 double crochets for our granny square. Now you can let go of the ring because your stitches are going to be holding that open. Chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap your yarn, and now we're going to go right back into that ring to make 3 more double crochets. So there's our 3 double crochets and a chain 2 for our corner, 1 and 2. Now you can just grab your ring and your stitches and just pull them apart. So you kind of pull your ring out from your stitches. You get a lot more space to work around for your next set of 3 double crochets. And we're just working over our tail so we can cut that off when we're finished. So wrap your yarn and 3 more double crochets into the ring. 1, 2, and 3. And if I'm working too fast, just pause the video, get caught up, and press play. So there's 3 sides of our granny square. Chain 2 for your corner. And if you need more space, just slide your stitches back, squeeze, like pinch your ring and slide your stitches back. Wrap your yarn and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. All into the same center of the ring. All of our stitches start in the same spot. And now to join, we're going to join in a bit of a different way, and that is with a chain 1 and a single crochet. So we're going to count our V's here on this side. So there's 1 little V down here tucked right in underneath there. So there's 1, 2, and 3. We're just going to go into the 3rd stitch up, the 3rd chain stitch. We just want to go into that stitch and we want to get 2 loops of that stitch on our hook. So push your hook in to the top of the chain 3. Grab your yarn and bring it back. Wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that is a single crochet, and that just leaves us ended in the center of our corner so we can hide our join as we work along. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work into this corner space. We're going to do 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And now wrap your yarn, and into this next corner space we're going to do 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So wrap your yarn and go into this big corner space. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 1 and 2, and wrap your yarn, 3 more double crochets into the same corner space. You can also grab your work and your stitches and kind of slide your stitches back to give you more space in that corner so your stitches are laying down nicely beside each other. So 3 double crochets to finish off that corner. There we go. And now this side here where we joined, I should have told you to put a stitch marker. So right where we did our chain 3 into that corner space, I'm just going to put my stitch marker in, and that just reminds me when I'm working my way around that I just don't keep going into a spiral. We want to pay attention where we did our join. So we finished our 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. We're going to do the exact same thing in the next 2 corners, 1 and 2. So no chaining in between. We're just going to wrap our yarn and jump straight into the corner space. And your corner is 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. There's our second corner. Wrap your yarn, and we're going to do that again in the 3rd corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into the same corner space. So now we have our stitch marker here, and our stitch marker is just telling us to slow down and hold on. We have to do something, but you can see why we put in our stitch marker. We would just keep going straight across the edge and then wonder why we didn't have a corner way over on this side when really our corner is right there. So that's why we put in that stitch marker. So you can just pop it out now if you like. And into that spot where our stitch marker was, we're going to finish the corner where we started. So we need to do 3 double crochets into that corner space where our stitch marker was. So there's 1 and 2, and here is 3. Like that. And we're going to join in the same way, so chain 1 and single crochet to the top of the chain 3. If you turn your chain a little bit to face you, you can see there's one little V down there. So 1, 2, and 3. So we just want to poke our hook in somewhere into this stitch. We want 2 loops of that stitch on our hook. So poke your hook in, 2 strands of that stitch on your hook, wrap your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So there is our single crochet to join. Chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3, and turn your work. Wrap your yarn and into that same corner space, you want to make sure you have 3 double crochets on this side and 3 double crochets on that side. So we want to make sure we're in the middle. 2 double crochets because our chain counts as our first stitch. And now we have a space on the side, so that's going to get 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now our corner is, we're not making that into a corner anymore. That's going to be the side of our heart. So that this spot here, this corner space, is going to get 4 double crochets. So wrap your yarn and go in and make 4 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the tip of the pointy bit of our heart. This is the side, and now we're going to do the big top curves. So wrap your yarn twice. So wrap it once and wrap it twice. So we have 2 of these loops on our hook, or 2 wraps of yarn on our hook. Go into that side space. Just push your hook into the space, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that is a treble crochet, and how I remember it is like a triple takeoff. So you wrap your yarn twice, you go in, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, so that's 1. Wrap your yarn and take off 2, that's our second. Wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that's our 3 takeoffs, so it's a triple takeoff. So that's how I remember my treble crochets. Double is 2 takeoffs, treble is 3 takeoffs. So we need to make 12 of these into the very same spot. So wrap your yarn twice and do 10 more treble crochets all into the same side space. And then just count to make sure you have 12. So I just separate them with my finger. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, perfect. Now into this corner, which is no longer corner, that's going to be the valley or the center of the top center of our heart. We're just going to make a slip stitch. So push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it back, turn your hook and just bring it through that loop that you had on your hook. So there's a slip stitch. Now go ahead, we're going to do 12 more treble crochets into this next side space. So wrap your yarn twice, go into the side space, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2, and do that 11 more times for a total of 12 treble crochets. So just pause the video and finish up your treble crochets on this side, and I'll meet you back. So just count to make sure you have 12, and then wrap your yarn and into this next corner space. We're going to turn that into our side, so that's 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wrap your yarn into the side spot, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now into the point or the very tip of our heart, 3 double crochets into that very last corner space. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to join in the same way. So chain 1 and a single crochet to the top of the chain 3. So you can just straighten out your chain so you can see it. Mine's all a bit crunched in there. So there's 1 down here at the bottom, 2, and there's 3. Or you can count over. So there's 1, 2, and this one here is 3. And you just want to make sure you keep 2 loops of that stitch on your hook. So I'm just going to push my hook in, 2 loops, 2 strands of that stitch on my hook. Grab my yarn and bring it through, wrap my yarn and take off both loops for a single crochet. Chain 1 this time around, turn your work, and now 1 single crochet into that corner spot, so no wrapping your yarn. And 1 into each stitch going along the side. Our stitches are these little dimples here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way along. So we're going to work into these first 10 stitches here. So 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and 4 double crochets. We're going to work into each one of those, making 1 single crochet, and then we'll change it a little bit when we get to these trebles. So to make a single crochet, just push your hook into that dimple. That gives you 2 loops of that stitch on your hook, both strands of the V. Grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So this is my last stitch right there that I'm going to put a single crochet into. And now these are my trebles. So I'm going to start making this part also larger for this round. So wrap your yarn and go into the next stitch. Grab your yarn and bring it back. We're going to do a half double. So wrap your yarn and take off all 3 loops. And we'll do that again. Wrap your yarn, go into that stitch. Grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off all 3 loops off your hook. So that is a half double crochet. Now we're going to do a double crochet into the next. So push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that's your double take off. Wrap your yarn again, and we're doing that into the next stitch. So we did 2 half doubles and 2 doubles. And now we're going to start increasing. So wrap your yarn and into this next stitch, we're going to make 2 double crochets. So our first double crochet, wrap your yarn, and our second double crochet into the same stitch. So we're adding a stitch, looks just like that. Into the next stitch, 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. So now we're just going to alternate doing 2 double crochets into a stitch and then 1 double crochet into a stitch. So there's our 2. The next one just gets 1 double crochet. Into the next, 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2 both into the same stitch. The next is 1 double crochet. And then we have 2 stitches left. So wrap your yarn, go into the next stitch, make 1 double crochet. Wrap your yarn and make 1 half double crochet into the same stitch. So that just kind of brings the height down a little bit for our heart shape. And into this last stitch, 1 single crochet. So no wrapping your yarn for the single crochet. And now we're going to go back into this big space down below from row 2 of our granny square. So just no wrapping your yarn, push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it through, turn your hook and bring it through. So that is a slip stitch. And now find your first stitch, which is right there. It's very close to our slip stitch. And we'll make 1 single crochet, so that's no wrapping the yarn. Wrap your yarn for the next stitch. We're going to do a half double. So wrap your yarn and bring it back. Wrap your yarn and take off all 3 loops. Wrap your yarn and make 1 double crochet into the very same stitch. So that's our increase. 1 double crochet into the next stitch. We're basically doing the exact same thing we did on the first side. We're doing the mirror exact same thing on the other side. So into the next stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and then a double crochet on its own, so just 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochets into the stitch after that, 1 and 2, so 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and then 1 double crochet on its own, and then 2 into the same stitch, 1 and 2, and again pause the video when I get going too fast. And now into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, and then these last 4 stitches here of the treble crochets, wrap your yarn and make a double crochet, so that's just 1 double crochet, and another into the next stitch, so 2 double crochets in a row, and wrap your yarn and then 2 half doubles, 1 into each stitch, so 1 into the first stitch, half double crochet, and into the last stitch there, half double crochet. Now we're going to single crochet all the way down this side until we reach this tip of our heart. 1 single crochet into each stitch. Now into this corner, into the space down there, we want to do 2 single crochets because we started with 1, so that's going to be end up with 3 single crochets for the tip of our heart. We're going to slip stitch to that first V right there. That is the little single crochet that we put into the tip of our heart where we started. So push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it back, turn your hook to bring it through, chain 1 to secure your yarn, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And there is our heart shape finished. Because we worked over this tail in the beginning, we can just cut that off carefully. These curved scissors really help a lot. They're fabulous. And now we're ready to do 1 row of single crochet for our border. And we want to be working in to the back of our work, so just flip it over. You want this macaroni to be facing up, our dimples. If it's the right way, you don't have dimples, you have these V's. So we want our hearts to lay flat because we're going to be holding them up or they're going to be hanging. So we want to just keep them as flat as we can, which is why we are turning our work. So turn your work for this row and we're just going to be working into one of the tops of our hearts. I'm just going to pick this one and I'm just going to go into this stitch right there, 2 loops of that V on my hook. Loop of my new yarn on my hook, I'm going to bring that through and slip stitch with both to join. Drop my tail. I'm going to work over a little bit so you can just hold it along the top of your work. Chain 1 and into the next stitch 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet into each stitch going all the way along your heart. So keep going, making 1 single crochet into each stitch, and I'll meet you when we get to the tip of our heart. So keep working along, getting to the tip of your heart. And remember, into the tip of our heart, we did 3 stitches. So just use your little fingers to isolate them, and you will see the yarn that goes into the space. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So there is 1, 2, and 3 stitches at the top. We want to put our new corner into the center stitch, which is this stitch right here. So don't worry if it's a bit on the side, it'll all even out. So here's our first one. So there's this 1 single crochet. And now into the second stitch in the tip of our heart, 3 single crochets. So there's 1, all into the same stitch, 2, and 3. And now 1 into each stitch, working your way along. So it looks like that. Keep going and I'll meet you when we get to the valley. So make sure you get into this last stitch the last dimple before the slip stitch, before the center of our heart. And now when you get to the center of your heart, we're just gonna do one slip stitch. So I'm using some tension. I don't have like a super big loop on my hook. I've kind of pulled it down so it's small and poked it through that nice space we have from below, brought my yarn just through, turn your hook and bring it through. So there is a little tiny slip stitch. And now turn your heart back up a little bit so you can push your hook into that very first stitch. So you want to do a single crochet right there. And now one single crochet all the way along until we get to the join. So now to join, I'm just going to go into this first stitch right there. Just that, here's our V where we joined. I'm not going to go into that one. I'm going to go into the one right on top just to pull it over and make it a bit square. So just push my hook in. I want 2 loops on my hook. Bring my yarn through and bring my yarn through. So there is my join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So I have my hearts all ready to go, 4 of each of my colors, so a total of 12. You're welcome to do whatever color combinations or numbers you would like to do for yours, but I thought 12 would be a nice number to start with. So get the color yarn you want to use for hanging them. I'm just going to use the same white as I did for the last round of edging, just so it looks like nice and cute and clean hanging up, but you can use any yarn or color that you would like. You can also figure out the order you want to put yours in. I'm just going to alternate my colors as I go along. So I'm just going to leave mine in the same order and just kind of push them up to the top of my workspace. So make a slip knot, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with your needle. You don't want any strings hanging from your garland. Shrink your loop down and chain 16. So there is 16. You can chain any amount you like. This is just enough to make a little loop that you can hang easily onto a little nail or a small knob or something like that. So now make sure your chain's not twisted, not that it totally matters. And we're just going to push our hook straight into that very first chain that we made, just to make a ring. So push your hook in, grab your yarn and bring it through. Turn your hook and bring it through. So there is a slip stitch. So now chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So take your first heart, and looking at your heart, we're just going to pick the top of our heart, just the top stitches, and you could just kind of eyeball it. I think this one is the tallest on this side and this one is the tallest over there. So I'm just going to pick those 2 stitches as the top of my heart. So I'm just going to go into that stitch and make a single crochet. So grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2. And now we're going to chain to get across. So I'm going to chain 8 and now into the top of that other curve, the tallest bit of the heart, I'm just going to push my hook in and make another single crochet. So it looks like that so far. Now I'm going to chain 16. Because we want to get far enough away for the next heart to start. So it has a little space in between, but it's pretty, and it'll also stretch, it's crochet, but it'll also be nice and close together, so it'll be an obvious heart decoration. So chain 16, and now I'm going to go into the top of this stitch, the top of this crescent here, the top of this heart, which I think is kind of where I joined, and I'm going to make a single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and single crochet into the top of the next crescent part, the tallest stitch. So just kind of lay it out. Of course, you're welcome to count and do it all the exact same if you feel like it. I'm just going to say that is my tallest stitch, and I'm going to make a single crochet. So now we have 2 connected. And I'm going to keep going. So my next one is going to be 16. 16. My next color, and I'm just going to eyeball the tallest stitch. I'm going to say it's that guy. Single crochet, chain 8 to get across. Find my tallest stitch, single crochet to join, chain 16 to get to my next heart. So I've joined 3 so far with a nice little tab for hanging on the one side, and they're great so far. I really like it. So now I'm just going to keep going, but you can also pause now and look at yours and see if you want a bigger space in between them, or a smaller space in between the center part, or if that looks good to you. Just give it an eyeball. It's easy enough to add an extra stitch anywhere you feel you need an extra stitch. Just remember to write it down and make it the same for the rest of your garland or bunting. So keep going, adding the rest of your hearts, and I'll meet you at the end. So I have them all joined up. It goes really quick. It sounds like it's going to take you for ages, but you're just chaining and single crocheting, and wow, you really get far like so quickly. So that is all attached and ready. I've done my last single crochet. Now we're just going to do the exact chain that we started with on the other side. So we're going to do a chain 24. So to start, just chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And grab a stitch marker. So onto the chain just underneath your hook, just put in a stitch marker. That just saves us from counting later. No big deal. And now chain 16. 16. So right where we have our stitch marker, we're going to put our hook in, but we want to make sure there's 2 loops on our hook. So just go in on the other side, making sure there's 2 loops of that stitch on your hook, and make a little slip stitch. So bring your yarn through, turn your hook, and bring your yarn through. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. And now cut your yarn. You want to leave a long enough tail that you can sew in with a needle. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down. You can take your stitch marker out. And now we just have to sew in our ends. Valentine's Day heart garland. It's so cute. And how easy was that? The tricky part is only making your hearts. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. We upload new videos every week, do a live chat on Fridays and a podcast on Wednesdays. We're also on Facebook, The Secret Yarnery, and Instagram at Secret Yarnery. We also have a Facebook group where you can upload your photos, which is the Secret Yarnery Crochet Community. Love to have you join me over there. I'd love to see your work and your colors. I find it so exciting to see what you're up to. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great day and stay hooked.